And so, this is the title, this is the topic of our session today. We talk about classroom management, which is different from classroom discipline. Classroom management here defined as strategies and techniques used to ensure a productive and safe learning environment. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about concrete things that you can do so that your classroom is productive and safe. Effective classroom management involves establishing clear expectations, rules, and consequences. And in fact, the challenge for us is how to get our students to do what you want them to do without you ever having to resort to shouting, screaming, and yelling. For some of you who may have been teaching for more than a year already, and then you look back at the past year or past years that you've been teaching, and you realized, wow, I shouted, I screamed, I yelled. I even hurt some students. And then we feel we failed at one point or another in managing our class. That message, that video is telling us, never mind, it's okay. There are still new chances now, opportunities to make up for whatever failure we may have encountered, and then go on to be the best teachers we can possibly be by managing the class properly. Okay, so that's classroom management, and that's our topic today. We want to know, how can we control the class? How can we be more in control of the noise inside the classroom? Well, it involves establishing clear expectations, clear rules, and yes, clear consequences. That is part of discipline. Good classroom management helps to minimize disruptions and maximize student learning opportunities. Now, teachers, here's the problem in the Philippines. um, I have been giving seminars to teachers the last 12 years. I have been a teacher for more than 30 years, but in the last 12 years, I've spent more time giving sessions to teachers on character formation, classroom management. And what I discover is maraming mga teachers hindi nabigyan ng tamang preparation in classroom management. I want to hear from you. Can you please type in the chat box? Yes or no lang. Did you have training in classroom management before you actually started teaching? Yes or no lang. I know many will say yes. Okay, meron na tayong mga no's. Ang daming no. Merong mga yes, nice, pero parang mas marami ang no, no? Sabi ni sir, yes, pero minimal. Okay, great. No, yes, no, no. Okay. So, napansin ninyo, when this is supposed to be one of the most crucial elements in becoming a successful teacher, classroom management. If you were with us in the last session, last Wednesday, ang sabi ko sa seminar na yon, sabi ng research, failure in classroom management is one of the top reasons why many teachers leave the profession. Many teachers leave pag umabot sila sa punto where the only way they can make the students do what they want them to do is by shouting, screaming, and yelling. And yes, I tell you, teachers, um, poor classroom management is one of the sources of your tiredness. If you don't know how to manage your class, you will repeat um, many times in one period. John, sit down. Joey, stop talking. Eyes here on the board. Stop moving around. Listen here. Um, if you are that kind of teacher, na paulit-ulit mong kailangan sabihin, listen, stop talking, keep quiet, eyes here on the board. Then, talagang pagdating ng dismissal sa hapon, ay pagod na pagod ka. Kasi nga naman, you tried to control the class 120 times during the whole day. When there are ways of getting John to do what you want him to do without even having to call his name. And I'm going to give you strategies on how to do that. How to get John, Joey, Joanna to do what you want them to do without you ever having to keep on repeating. Stop talking, eyes here on the board, look here, sit up straight, sit properly. Okay, so um, nakakaawa naman yung mga nag-no sa chat box, ano? Para bang may pagkukulang tayo. Hindi natin sila hinanda. Hindi natin sila natulungan to be the best teachers they can possibly be inside the classroom because classroom management is one of the keys, one of the most important elements, in fact, to be a good master teacher. So, let's proceed on. Effective classroom management fosters a safe, positive, and engaging learning environment. It improves student behavior and academic performance. In fact, many teachers will tell you that one of the hardest things to do is disciplining the class. One of the hardest things to do is to get the class to keep quiet. You agree? That's one of the toughest things to do, to keep the class to keep quiet. Okay, so let's learn strategies. Let us learn classroom management skills, how to create a positive classroom environment, how to establish clear rules and expectations, how to use effective communication and active listening skills. First thing I need to let you know, teachers, dapat positive. In fact, I don't like what some schools do. They spend day one reviewing the students on how they can get detained, suspended, expelled, and dropped from the rolls. I mean, all of you just finished opening the school year. Some of you, I think, are already finishing the first quarter or first semester. And you look back at your day one. If your school spent day one reviewing school policies on detention, suspension, expulsion, that is the worst way to spend day one. One is it's not positive. It's like you threatened the students on day one. It's like you told them, class, you better behave, or else you can get detained. This is how you can get expelled. You can get dropped from the rolls. You will not. That is the worst way to spend day one. It's not good. So we will talk about those things. But yes, there should be consequences for misbehavior. I agree. People should be made to face the consequences of their actions. Misbehavior should have consequences, but always prioritize positive reinforcement and communication over punishment. Build trust and respect with students. I want to get straight into the strategies so that you really get out of this session more confident of managing your class. These are some principles first na kailangan nating ilatag to realize that you want to be able to control your class or manage your class more effectively. Make sure that it is a welcoming classroom, that students are not terrified of you or of the teachers or of the rules. Because ganun minsan ang nangyayari. Students are afraid of some teachers because they have the reputation of being terror, nakakatakot, or threatening, or parang laging galit, no? So, we have to build positive relationships with students if we are to be successful in managing our class effectively. Here's a bonus point. If you are able to collaborate with the parents, communicate with the parents, then you stand a better chance of being able to manage your class effectively. Teachers, there are strategies, okay? There are strategies that we can learn so that you get the students to do what you want them to do without you ever having to get angry, resort to shouting, screaming, or yelling. And so I encourage you, explore them, um, explore those strategies. Before we finish this session, I would have given you a number of them. Some of them you can start using on Monday, the next time you meet your students. Now, let me share with you this uh, probably one of the most important studies ever made on effective teaching. It was done by the best magazine on teaching or on for teachers. Ang title ng magazine, Educational Leadership, and they put together many of these new research coming out that are being done about effective teaching. Sabi nitong study that they made spanning 50 years, they interviewed thousands of teachers and students, um, interviewees. They asked them, what are the top three traits of effective teachers that you've had in your life? Ito ang lumabas. Number one is our topic today. Sabi ng mga in-interview, the number one quality of an effective teacher is he or she is a good classroom manager. Number two, lumabas sa study, an effective teacher designs lessons to reach mastery. By design, tinutulungan nila ang kanilang mga estudyante to reach mastery. Kaya hindi ako fan ng mga teachers na nagyayabang na maraming bumabagsak sa klase nila. 'Di ba minsan may ganyan kayo, minsan meron kayong ganyang teachers na makikilala. Sila pa yung mayabang, nakalahati ng students nila sa class nila bumabagsak. And then they say, aba, mataas ang standard ko. Bahala sila sa buhay nila. Sabi nitong research na to, ma'am, sir, hindi ka effective teacher because effective teachers design their lessons so that the students really learn and really master the lesson. And here's number three, an effective teacher has positive expectations that students will be successful. We spent a lot of time talking about this last Wednesday. Dapat ang disposition, ang mindset ng teacher, if we are to be good educators, effective teachers, is we expect the students to succeed. We want them to succeed and we expect them to succeed. Okay, let's hear from you, teachers. Sagot niya lang sa chat box. Disciplining versus classroom management, are they the same or are they different? Please type in the chat box what you think. Is disciplining the same as classroom management or are they the same? Or are they the same or are they different? Okay, great. Fantastic. Everybody is typing in different. Okay, good. Teachers, if you know how to manage the class, you don't even need to discipline. Those are two different things. In fact, Harry Wong, our source for this session, would even say, teachers, stop disciplining and start managing. You don't need to discipline if you know how to manage. And that's what we're after in this session. Manage the class, don't discipline. Discipline is like threatening, giving rules. Kaya sabi ko kanina, I hope you did not spend day one reminding the students the policies about detention, suspension, expulsion, because that's disciplining. It's like telling them, you better behave or else. Whereas managing is simply telling the students, class, This is what I expect you to do. The number one factor governing learning is classroom management. It's not discipline. So, teachers who complain, Mr. Rentoy, kung alam mo lang kung gaano ka walang disiplina ang estudyante sa classroom ko, then you will know why many fail. No, sabi ng studies, no matter how undisciplined, unruly the class is, if you know how to manage them, learning can happen. It's not discipline. It's not self-esteem. It's not economic background. It's not even class size, sabi ng study. Sabi ng experts. So, let's differentiate. Discipline is not the same as classroom management. For example, airlines, the stewardesses do not discipline, they manage. They manage the airplane. They manage the passengers. What do airlines do bago mag-take off? All airlines, Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, Virgin Airlines, United Airlines, kahit anong airline ang sakyan mo, they do something the same. They review the procedure before takeoff. They announce in the, minsan it's through a video, they remind everyone about the procedures. And what are the procedures? Again, kahit anong eroplano ang pasukin mo, pare-pareho ang procedure. Open the window shade, straighten up your chair, close the table in front of you, fasten your seat belts. Those are not rules. They are procedures. And any airline you enter, pare-pareho ang expected procedures. You will have problems with discipline if, and with classroom management, if the students start saying, Ma'am, bakit sa class ni Mr. Ano, pwede kaming lumipat-lipat ng upuan? Bakit dito bawal? O kaya sasabihin ng isang student, Sir, bakit kay ma'am pwede kaming kumain? Dito sa class nyo, hindi kami pwedeng kumain. Now, that is when you have problems with procedures or even discipline. That's why one of the things schools should do is the faculty should sit down and agree on common procedures na kahit anong classroom ang pasukin ng estudyante ninyo sa eskwelahan ninyo, the expectations are the same. The procedures that they are expected to follow are the same. No one should ever have to ask, bakit sa Philippine Airlines pwede kaming tumayo kahit naka-on yung fasten seatbelt sign? No, they cannot do that because every airline, the procedures are all the same. Teachers, if you do not have uniform procedures for every classroom that the students enter, that may be one of the most important things you need to do. Sit down, spend time to make all your procedures the same, so that the students are expected to behave in the same way. Now, what do stewardesses do after reviewing the procedures? They're not rules. They're simply how you expect the passengers to carry themselves inside the airlines. What do the stewardesses do next after reviewing the procedures? They go around simply making sure everybody follows the procedures. They check, and if they see somebody not following the procedure, they only do two things. They call you ma'am, sir, and then second, they tell you exactly what they want you to do. Ma'am, please open the window shade. Thank you. They go to the next. Sir, please fasten the seatbelt. Thank you. They go to the next. Sir, paki-diretso ng upuan. They just do those two things. They tell you exactly what they want you to do. They call you ma'am or sir. That's managing. Now, if the stewardesses are disciplining, not managing, then this is what they will do, like what some teachers do inside the classroom when they discipline. They will tell the passenger, "Sir, hindi nyo ba nadinig yung announcement? Di ba pinapafasten ng seatbelt? Bakit hindi nyo sinusunod? Ilang beses ba dapat kayong sabihan? Tingnan mo, pareho kayo ng anak mo." They say all those useless things. That's disciplining. And stewardesses don't do that. They do not discipline, they manage. Teachers, stop disciplining and start managing, and you will not have to get tired. But I will teach you strategies on how to get John to do what you want him to do without even having to call his name. You can. There are strategies that I'll share with you. Okay, so remember, classroom management is different from disciplining. And the best way to manage a class is by clearly defining procedures and routines. Procedures and routines, which you should be spending the first days of school reviewing and rehearsing with the students. Kaya pala ganun yung title ng libro ni Harry Wong, First Days of School, because that's what we are supposed to be doing in the first days of the school year. Teaching the procedures. And ito hindi ginagawa ng maraming eskwelahan or maraming teachers. Don't just teach the procedure, rehearse them. Rehearse the students in doing the procedure over and over until the procedures become routines. Procedures and routines. Lahat naman tayo gusto nating responsableng students, di ba? But the only way that you and I can have responsible students is if you have procedures and routines which the students can be responsible to. Teachers, take note of this. When you teach them procedures, you are making them responsible to the procedures and routines, not to you. So please never ever say what an ineffective teachers say. Some ineffective teachers, pag nakita nila si John, hindi sumusunod, anong sasabihin ng teacher? John, kanina ka pa dyan ah. Ilang beses ka ba dapat sabihan, are you challenging my authority? Ayan, di ba may ganyan kayong mga teachers, madidinig nyo magsasalitang ganyan. Are you challenging my authority? No, ma'am. He is not challenging your authority. He is just not following the procedure, to which he should be responsible to, not to you. So that is the beauty of having procedures that you teach and rehearse with the students. You remove from yourself the responsibility. You make them responsible to the procedures and routines. Number two, sorry about this numbering here. When students know how the class is run, believe me, they will more willingly do whatever you want them to do. Okay? So let's differentiate procedures and routines. Itong definition, procedures are simply what you want students to do. What do you want them to do when they recite? Do you want them to raise their hand? Do you want them to stand by their desk? Or are you okay with them giving the answer while seated? What's your procedure? Pag ang estudyante dumating ng late, come on, let's face it, because of the traffic in Manila, hindi natin maiiwasan. May mga mangyayari na minsan late darating ang bata. What is your procedure if a student comes in late? Do you just allow him to enter? Or do you want him to get a slip from the office? Or do you want him to wait outside, knock on the door, wait to be told to enter? What's your procedure? Kung wala kang procedure, hindi niya alam kung anong gagawin niya. And yes, you can have student who para bang will ignore you and just enter the classroom. Tapos maiinis ka, no? Kasi, hey, why you didn't even ask permission? But did you explain that as the procedure? And did you even rehearse that as a procedure during the first days of the school year? So you see, procedures are nothing else but what you want students to do. And then you rehearse them over and over until those procedures become automatic. What students do automatically, the routines. Okay, so this needs yung internalizing. And I want first to show you a video so that we first have the proper attitude, proper disposition of, okay, dapat hindi ako disciplinarian na gaya ng, let's face it, di ba? Some of us had teachers like that. Terror, scary, disciplinarian, very strict, na kinatakutan natin pa siguro. Today, we're going to learn strategies on how to be able to manage the class without ever having to be scary. Kasi it's a wrong idea. If na maling idea yon na if you want the students to follow you, kailangan matakot sila sa iyo. We have to get rid of that wrong idea because there are ways of making the students do what we want them to do. Huwag na tayo magalit. And let's not give up on any one of our students. Not because mabagal sila, mahina sila, or not because maingay sila, parang wala silang disiplina. Let's not give up on them because many times, umaasa sila sa atin, ano? And that is the reason why we got into teaching. We want to make a difference in the lives of our students. We are like second parents. Dun sa video na yon, ang point ng Gabay Guro is, hindi mo alam kung sino doon ang nanay at kung sino doon ang teacher. Kung sino doon si mama at kung sino doon si ma'am. Because sometimes that's what we teachers need to do. We have to treat our students like mothers, like their parents. Because it's true. Minsan, sa atin na lang umaasa yung mga bata. Mabuti na lamang kung the parents are really hands-on at home in supervising, in helping. But sometimes that's how things go. Pero hindi mo magagawa yung trying to be a parent if ang namuong isipan natin, yung namuong parang idea natin of being a good teacher is being a disciplinarian, being strict, being scary. The number one problem in the classroom is not discipline. It's the lack of procedures and routines. So, here are some samples na dapat pare-pareho ang ating procedures sa loob ng classroom, and we should have procedures and we should teach and rehearse these procedures in the beginning of the school year. Now, I know we're done with the start of the school year. Some of you are on your second or even third month. It's okay. On Monday, this coming Monday, there's no problem with telling the class, I did not get to discuss this with you, but let us have procedures from here on so that our class goes like runs like a well-oiled machine. I want you to follow these procedures, teach them, and then rehearse them. For example, passing in papers. How do you tell the students? What's your procedure if you want to collect the papers from the students? Sabi ni Harry Wong, the worst way is to say, okay, class, stop writing, time's up. Exam, ano? Time's up, pass the papers forward. Sabi ni Harry Wong, that's the worst way of collecting papers. That's the worst way of passing in papers. Why? Because students are not angels, right? Pag sinabi mong, okay, stop writing, pass the papers forward, do you think everyone will really stop writing? Of course not. May mga estudyante, hindi titigil sumagot sa test paper hanggat hindi mo sabihin na, okay, paper's not in, I will not collect anymore. Ayan, magagalit ka pa, ano? That is not the right way of passing in papers. And if you don't have procedures, it even becomes worse because the people at the back, when they pass the paper, Eh hindi naman nakatingin yung nasa harap nila kasi sumasagot pa, no? So what do the people in the back have to do? Ay kailangang hampasin nila yung nasa harap nila. Uy, pass the paper na raw, sabi ni sir. Ayan. And then yung nasa harap na hinampas ng papel, titingin sa likod, magagalit. Ano ba? Hindi pa ako tapos. And the whole class erupts into a noise simply because you said, pass the papers forward. That is wrong. That is not the best way to collect papers, to pass in papers. Here is a sample, sabi ni Harry Wong, of a better way of passing in papers. You have to teach it and you have to rehearse the students in doing this. Okay, class? Especially kung ang classroom mo, yung traditional na may rows, may aisle sa gitna. Okay? So here is a sample of a good procedure. Okay, class? Time's up. Stop writing. All the papers to the aisles at the count of 5. You see, you show them that you value time. You teach it and you rehearse it at the start of the school year, or you rehearse it on Monday. Okay, class, when I ask you to pass the papers, I will count 5, 4, 3. I will not count 1 to 5 because it can go 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10. You are going to say at the count of 5, all papers to the aisles. 5. Now, tinudo nyo at ni-rehearse ito na pag sinabi mong 5, yung mga nandun sa dulo ng rows, they should already be giving their paper to the person to their left. If the aisle is in the left, when they hear 5, dapat they are already passing the paper to the left, to the person in their left. You see, not in front. And the person na magre-receive ng papel na yon, unang-una hindi na siya kailangang hampasin kasi nasa peripheral vision niya. Nakikita niya that the person beside him is passing the paper. So he will get that paper and then you say 4. When they hear 4, they know that the second person should already be passing the paper to the next beside him. 3, 2, until when you reach 1, all the papers are along the aisles. Tapos bababa ka lang, you'll walk down the aisle collecting the papers from the 2 persons seated along the aisles. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you have all the papers at the count of 5, and in a matter of 10 seconds, when you go down the aisle to collect the papers, you have it. You don't waste more time. That is a procedure that you have to rehearse. Okay, class, get a 1/4 sheet of paper. Let's rehearse this procedure of passing in papers. Okay, ready? 5, 4, and then you see John not following, not giving the paper. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. John is just not following the procedure. All you have to say is, John, what's the procedure, please? He will pass the paper. Thank you. Yun lang. No need to get upset, get angry, or worse, even say, John, are you challenging my authority? No, nothing like that. How do you head the papers? Students should not be asking, Sir, do we need to write our full name? Sir, do we need to put the date? Sir, do we need to put the... If in the first days of the school year, you made it very clear, and even better, in all the subjects, pare-pareho ang procedure on how to head the papers, that you want them to put their full name on top, the subject under that, the date on the right side, and that is always the procedure in whatever subject, in whatever paper they submit, whether it's one half, 1/4, one whole sheet of paper, heading of papers, procedures. Let me share with you, in my case, I want my students to write their nickname and family name on top so that when I will return the papers after checking it, I don't have to call them by Protasio Batong Bakal. I want to call them by their nickname and family name. And so that's what appears on the paper, because I prefer to call them by their nicknames. Here's another. So um, these are just some of the so many procedures that you can have. Harry Wong said, you can have as many procedures as you want for as long as you rehearse them with the students. Here's something many teachers don't do. When the teacher is tardy or when there's no teacher inside the classroom and the bell rings, wala silang procedure niyan. So what happens? Nagring ang bell, walang teacher sa classroom, the classroom turns into a zoo. The students start making noise, jumping up and down kasi walang teacher. Here's a procedure I have. Okay, class, if the bell rings at walang teacher sa classroom, here's the procedure. President, vice president, you will come in front of the class, supervise order, secretary, go to the faculty room and ask, is Mr. So-and-so here? Is Miss So-and-so here? We don't have a teacher in the classroom. That's the procedure, okay? So that the next time around, the bell rings, there's no teacher inside the classroom, the procedure comes to place, the president and vice president take over. Here are other procedures you should be teaching your students. Better yet, if kahit anong classroom ang pasukin ng mga estudyante, how to end the class, the procedure in ending the class, the procedure if they want to recite, the procedure if they need to borrow a pen or a paper. Let's not fight it. It can happen really na one day nakalimutan ng estudyante ang ballpen niya, nawala ang ballpen niya, and he needs to borrow. No need to get upset if you have a student asking a classmate. But there should be a procedure. What is your procedure if a student needs to ask for a paper or a pen or whatever it is? Here is a very important set of procedures. Coming to attention. An ineffective teacher, wala siyang procedure, gusto niyang patahimikin ng class kasi may kailangan siyang i-announce. An ineffective teacher, what does he or she do? Maingay ang klase. Gusto niyang mag-announce. So what he will do is, he will have to shout, class, keep quiet. I need to make an announcement. That's an ineffective teacher. There's no procedure to get the class to come to attention. You should have procedure to get the class to come to attention. And here is an example. Salami. This is from Dr. Harry Wong. Salami, stop and look at me. Okay, class, if I need to make an announcement, I am going to use the salami procedure. What does it mean? Salami, I'm going to stand in the middle of the room and calmly raise my hand. If you see me in the middle of the room with my hand raised like that, it means stop and look at the teacher. Stop whatever you're doing, stop whatever you're saying, even if you're in the middle of a statement, and look at the teacher because he needs to make an announcement. Okay? And then you rehearse it. You will say, okay, class, get a partner, and then I'll give you time to talk about what I did last summer break. Okay? Go. And then, lalakas ang noise level, ano? At a certain point, you go to the middle of the classroom and you calmly raise your hand. And you will see students in the beginning, maybe it will take them 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds before they finally stop and look at you. But if you keep on rehearsing it with the students, it becomes a routine. The next time around, it can take you only 3 seconds. You go to the middle of the classroom, you calmly raise your hand, and you will have the attention of everyone because it has become a routine. It works. It works. But you have to teach the procedure and you have to rehearse it. Now, you go to the middle of the room, you calmly raise your hand, but John does not stop talking. Don't get angry. Don't get mad. Just simply say, John, what's the procedure, please? He will stop talking. Thank you. Let's try it again. Get another partner, talk about what you did last summer, and then wait until I do the salami. Do it, rehearse it until it becomes a routine. I've seen it happen. I was once invited in St. Paul Pasig, and there were 1,200 students in the auditorium because this was a 1 week seminar, leadership and journalism seminar of students from all the different St. Paul schools around the Philippines. And they all were going to be there. This was day one, the first General Assembly. And of course, so everyone was excited, talking loudly, excited to see new friend, meet new friends. And then suddenly, the principal, Sister Teresita, went to the middle of the stage and calmly raised her hand. And in a matter of 4, 5 seconds, the whole auditorium with 1,200 students stopped talking and looked at her. It works because everybody knew the procedure. It had become a routine. She didn't have to raise her voice. She didn't have to say, keep quiet, please. She didn't have to get upset or angry. She just calmly raised her hand. You have to have a procedure to get the students to come to attention. And many, many more. Some procedures you will rehearse towards the end of the school year. Halimbawa, yung procedure to receive the diploma during graduation ceremony that they will receive with their left hand. With the right hand, they shake the hand of the principal. They go to the middle of the stage and then they bow. What do? It's a procedure. It's not the rule. And then you rehearse it with the students over and over and over again until they find it routinary. They are ready for graduation. You can have as many procedures that you want to put in place. Just make sure you rehearse them. But as I said earlier, even better if the procedures are the same in any classroom that the students enter. It works because it's the procedures that set up the class for achievement to take place. Okay, let me go very quickly over this Kohlberg 6 levels of moral development. Bakit daw nagpapakabait ang isang tao? Kohlberg studied it, and this is what he saw. The lowest level of why a student will behave is, I don't want to get into trouble. Eh sabi kasi ni sir, may suspension, may detention. So I better behave because I don't want to get into trouble. That's the lowest. That's why sabi ko sa inyo kanina, do not spend day one reviewing the students about punishment, about sanction, because you are fostering the lowest level of moral development. Second level of moral development, I want a reward. Mahilig tayo dyan sa mga kindergarten, preschool, yung may stamp mark dito, good job, or star, or well-behaved, ganyan, ano? And so, kids will do the right thing because I want a reward, because I want the sticker, because I want the stamp mark, I want a star. Better already than just avoiding punishment, but we can still do better than this. Third level of moral development, according to Kohlberg, I want to please somebody. I want to please the teacher. I want to please the parents. Maraming ganyang estudyante, they will study hard because they want to please their parents. Ang ganda na, no? I mean, at least this is better than simply wanting a reward or avoiding a punishment. But teachers, we can even still do better than that. Fourth stage, I follow the rules. Maganda din. Can you imagine if all our students will behave inside the classroom because they want to follow the rules? But in real life, sometimes we have to go beyond the rules, di ba? I mean, Even Jesus Christ broke rules. He performed miracle on a Sabbath. He broke rules because charity above all. So that is how it is. Jose Rizal broke rules. That's why he's a national hero. In other words, sometimes in life sometimes there is more to life than just rules. So sabi ni Rafe Esquith, who applied these Kohlberg's for 6 levels inside the classroom, we can still do better than this. 5th level, bakit ka nagpapakabait? Ha? I have to be considerate of my teachers. Pinaghirapan nila itong lesson. Kailangan makinig ako. Ang ganda, no? If students are like that, if students are able to reach that level of, naku, kailangan akong magpakabait, kailangan akong gumawa ng tama kasi pinaghirapan ng teacher itong lesson na to. I have to study hard. My parents are paying for my tuition and it's big sacrifice on their part to put me in this school. I have to be considerate of the sacrifices of my parents. I better study hard. I better behave. I better be disciplined. Very nice. That is even better than just avoiding a punishment or going for the reward. But here's the highest level of moral development. Why are you doing good? Why are you behaving? Because I have a personal code of behavior and I live by it. I live by principles. Therefore, why am I discussing this? Teachers, in disciplining your class, in managing your class, less and less of you better behave class, you better behave or else. That's level 1. Class, please naman, mag-aral naman kayo. Pag maganda ang grades nyo sa exam next week, we will watch a movie. Second level lang yon. Instead, 6th level of moral development, teachers will be saying things like, class, I expect best behavior because you are carrying the name of our school. I expect good behavior inside the classroom and outside the school because you're carrying the name of the school. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Napaliwanag nyo na what it means to be an ideal student of your school. That you have core values, that you have values that you stand for. Those are the things that we should be, in fact, discussing at the start of the school year. What it means to be an ideal student, a good student of our school. And then you expect them to behave that way. Good parents, and many of you are parents, do that. They tell their children, anak, magpakabait ka ha, dala mo ang pangalan ng pamilya natin. That means, meron na silang family code of behavior. Napaliwanag na ng mga magulang sa kanila what it means to be our family is loving, caring, hardworking, kind, respectful, considerate. That's why you expect them to behave because you're carrying the name of our school, you're carrying the name of the family. I have a personal code of behavior and I live by it. So, teachers, if you want to manage your class effectively, make sure, if you have not done it yet, this coming week you can do it. What does it mean to be a member of our class? Class, how do you want our class to be known? We're competitive. Okay, good. Pero dapat pasukan nyo ng values, virtues like we're respectful, we're kind, we're caring. We don't bully each other. We're responsible. If you are able to determine those things that you stand for as a class or as a school, then you will be telling the students to live by principles, to live by level 6, to have level 6 thinking, that we have a personal code of behavior and I follow it. Okay, let's go to discipline. Sabi ko kanina, stop disciplining and start managing. But it's also good to have discipline, to have a discipline plan. And that's why we go to, sige, let's solve that discipline problem. Believe me, students, in fact, want discipline more than you do because no one wants to be in a classroom where they are in danger of being harassed, teased, made fun of, hurt by their classmates. They want discipline, believe it or not. Gusto nila yon. Except that they, maybe they don't know about procedures. They don't know about routines. Ang alam lang nila is suspension, expulsion, detention. They were threatened. But they're not going to behave simply just because they don't want to get into trouble. The level one thinking. Okay, before I give you the discipline plan, limang maling paniniwala tungkol sa pagdidisiplina. Here are 5 myths of discipline. Number 1, myth ibig sabihin hindi tama ito, mali. Myth number 1, do not smile until Christmas. I heard an older teacher, senior teacher, advising a young teacher, a new teacher like some of you. Sabi ng old teacher, alam mo, wag kang ngingiti. Kailangan matakot ang mga estudyante sa'yo. Alam mo, wag kang ngingiti. Kundi, the students will take advantage of your niceness. That's not true. That's a myth. In fact, I would welcome my students to my classroom on day 1 with my biggest, widest, sweetest smile. And I assure them this is going to be a great year for you if you work hard. So please don't believe that myth, that lie, that you should not smile. That's not true. Number 2, Mr. Rentoy, alam mo, wala dapat akong problema with discipline if only I am big and tough. Then katatakutan ako ng mga estudyante, they will not even dare to misbehave. That's not true. You and I, most likely, had teachers who were big, but we liked them because they were motherly, they were fatherly. So, hindi totoo yung kailangan nakakatakot ka. Big and tough. Number 3, myth. Mr. Andoy, wala sana akong problema with discipline if only we have the latest gadgets in the school, yung may video projector in every classroom, tapos maganda yung laptop ko, tapos yung whiteboard, hindi yung blackboard. That's not true. If your school can afford those things, fantastic. But gadgets, whiteboard, video projector, those will not solve the discipline problem. I served as consultant to one international school na ang ganda ng classroom, air-conditioned, bawat classroom may LED TV, HD TV, pero meron silang bullying. May problema sila with discipline. You see, it's not the latest gadgets. Number 4, Mr. Rentoy, wala sana akong problema if only my students come from the middle class. Kasi ang mga problema yung nandun sa mga sobrang napakayayaman or yung mga mahirap na estudyante na may problema with motivation, with self-esteem. That's not true. That is not true. If the teacher is able to create a warm, welcoming, kind classroom where everyone will feel welcome and taken care of, learning will happen. You will not have problems with disciplining. And finally, number 5, and I address myself especially to young new teachers. Mr. Rentoy, wala akong problema with discipline kasi I will be friends with my students. We will be chummy-chummy, we will even eat together in McDonald's and magiinuman pa kami ng mga senior high students. We will be friends. We speak the same language, listen to the same music. That is a myth. In fact, we need to tell teachers, and I'm addressing many young teachers here today. Teachers, you are not meant to be friends with your students. You are meant to be a role model to your students, not friends. They don't need more friends. Look at their Facebook, ang dami na nilang friends. Ang daming followers sa TikTok at saka sa Instagram. But they don't have role models. That's what we have to be. Okay? So, uh, I've seen this happen in many schools. Young teachers trying to be popular, trying very hard to be liked by their students, treating them just like friends. Wrong, and I've seen it happen. End up tragically. Tragically meaning to say, at a certain point, pag gusto na nilang disiplinahin ang class, the students get confused. Oh, ba't nagagalit si ma'am? Kala ko friends tayo, nag-inuman nga tayo eh. Kasama nga natin siya sa McDo eh. Bakit siya nagagalit sa ating ngayon? You see, the students are confused now. Ano ka ba talaga? Kaibigan? Hindi. You're not supposed to be friends. You're supposed to be role models. Be friendly. Be very, very friendly, but you're not merely just going to be friends with them. Please, stop trying too hard to be popular, to be liked. Minsan may ganun nakikita ko eh, yung young teachers, para bang tumatakbo sa popularity contest. Miss Congeniality. Okay, very nice. But please, we have to be role models to our students. And these are the 5 myths that we have to avoid. Okay, let me go to the discipline plan. Okay, stop disciplining and start managing. But it's good to have a discipline plan. I visit schools around the Philippines and I ask them, may discipline plan kayo? Ay, oo, meron kaming rules. Okay, and if they break the rules, may punishment. Question, paano kung sundin nila yung rules? Wala. Di hindi magagalit ang teacher, walang punishment. Wrong. Sabi ni Harry Wong, there should be 3 parts. The rules, negative consequences if they fail to follow, but there should be positive consequences if they follow your rules. Rewards. Now, this is not the same as the reward system of earlier because this one is as a class, they are given a reward in this discipline plan. Here's the rule about rules. Don't have so many rules that students cannot even remember them, cannot even memorize them. I mean, how do you expect them to follow your rules na hindi nga nila ma-memorize? So, dapat there should only be 3, 4, or 5 rules. I have to remind you, teachers, procedures that we discussed earlier are not rules. They are simply what you expect them to do, the procedures. And you can have as many for as long as you rehearse them. Pero rules, only enough that they can memorize. In the many years, 30 years that I've been following Harry Wong system, I always only had 3 rules that I would give my class, and I would explain these 3 rules at the start of the school year. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement, come prepared for class. Yun lang lagi. From grade 4 that I taught all the way to 4th year high school, all the way to college, only those 3 rules I would give my class. No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement, come prepared for class. And I explained to them what each one of them means at the start of the school year. Now, negative consequences, I'm going to show you some samples of negative consequences and some samples of positive consequences of rewards. Here are some samples of positive consequences, rewards. Some of them applicable to preschool, some others applicable all the way to college. Okay, look at this list. So, for example, I'm proud of you statement. I'm proud of you statement. In college, I taught in the University of Asia and the Pacific, and I would make the students do reports. And because they came prepared for class, remember? No unnecessary noise, no unnecessary movement, come prepared for class. Because they did a good job in the presentation, I would say at the end of their presentation, good job. How I wish I can make you present this in other schools. That's a form of I'm proud of you statement. It's a consequence of their following my rule on coming prepared for class. As I said, some of these applicable to preschool, some others even all the way to college. Here are some more positive consequences. Okay, you take a look at them. Visit to principal for special acknowledgement. Di ba minsan may teachers na pagkagalit na galit na sa estudyante, ang biggest punishment niya is go to the principal's office now. And then pupunta yung bata sa principal's office. Sasabihin ng principal, oh bakit ka nandito? Sasabihin ng bata, hindi ko alam ma'am, pinapunta ako ng teacher. Kasi wala naman sa procedure yon. So, not me, I would bring my students who deserve to be given recognition to the principal's office. I will bring the students and tell the principal, Miss Principal, these two students were doing poorly last quarter, but now are even in the honors list. They deserve a congratulations, a special recognition from you. So that's positive consequence of coming prepared for class. Okay, here are some samples of negative consequences. Some applicable to preschool, others all the way to college. Okay, more. We're down to the last 10 minutes, so I hope to be able to discuss more strategies. So, some more negative consequences. In fact, some of the negative consequences are there written in your student's handbook, faculty manual, students' school policy about suspension. They are also part of the negative consequences. Harry Wong said, there should be more rewards than penalties. Okay? So then, concrete strategies. We're nearing the end of this session today. Sabi ni Dr. Wong, you know, classroom management seminars should be done in ballet studios where you have mirrors all around, because one of the best strategies that teachers should use and should perfect is the strategy called the stare. Ayan. The stare. Observe master teachers. May mga master teachers na pagpasok pa lang ng classroom, abay ang mga estudyante tatahimik. They will stop talking, they will keep quiet, they will listen. Yan. Wala namang ginawa yung teacher. I mean, wala naman siyang sinabi. The teacher simply gave them the stare. Master it. Look for that perfect stare that sends the message of, oh, come on, class. I expect best behavior. Come on. We discussed this already. That when I stand in front of the class, I expect respect and responsibility from everyone. The stare. Look for that stare. Minsan, hindi natin alam yung hitsura natin, yung mukha natin. Hindi natin alam yung stare na binibigay natin is yung parang galit sa mundo ang hitsura. It doesn't evoke respect. It doesn't evoke sense of responsibility. Para bang tinatakot lang natin yung mga estudyante. So, sabi ni Dr. Wong, look for that perfect stare that will send the message to the students. Come on, I expect best behavior. Okay, here's I think the last that I will be able to discuss given the time limit that we have right now. Check system. And I was so happy to know some of the best teachers in the world. Harry Wong, Hal Urban, Fred Jones, um, Rafe Esquith, and Ron Clark all use the check system. Here's the principle of Harry Wong. Do not waste academic time in order to discipline. Don't eat up academic time in order to discipline. So here is one way of being able to do it. Okay, class, we explained you remember I only have three rules. But remember, if one of you, if you choose to break any of my rules, then I will have to put the check system in place. And here's how it works. For example, let's say my subject is English and the lesson is on subject-verb agreement. So I'm giving a lecture. Okay, class, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. If the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. And then, while giving a lecture, I notice John and Joey talking to each other. Therefore, breaking rule number one, no unnecessary noise. I don't stop teaching. I don't get angry. I don't call the name of John and Joey. I simply pick up the chalk or the whiteboard marker calmly, and then while still lecturing, write the names of John and Joey on the board. Now, I explained this in the first days of the school year. The check system, they know about it. They know that if they choose to break one of the rules, I will have to write their names on the board. No punishment. No consequence, no sanction. It's just a warning because they chose to break one of my rules. And I do it without stopping my lecture. I just write their names on the board. And John and Joey will see that, and they will stop talking. So I continue lecturing. But sometimes there are some subjects that are always singular, like someone, somebody, something, some. And then I notice Jan and Joey talking again. I don't stop lecturing. I just calmly pick up the chalk or the whiteboard marker, and then I put a check mark beside their names. They know that if their name is written on the board with one check mark, it means that they have to spend 5 minutes of detention in recess, in lunch, or in dismissal time, or whatever is coming up next. 5 minutes. A second check mark would mean they would have to spend 15 minutes in detention, in recess, in lunch, or during dismissal. A third check mark means they have to come back on Saturday. A fourth check mark means that I will have to call their parents. Check system. The beautiful thing about it is I managed to get John and Joey to stop talking without even having to say, John, Joey, stop talking. I just write their name on the board or I just put a check mark beside their name. And I tell you, once they see their name on the board, they will behave. They will not break any of your rules anymore because they don't want to serve the tension. It works. It works. But we have to be fair in applying this. I love this system because you're not just looking for people to punish, you are giving them a chance by first giving a warning by writing their names on the board with and that has no consequence. Okay, um so that's the check system. And the beautiful thing about this is the next day or the next time you're going to enter the classroom to start another period with them, the, the whiteboard, the blackboard is clear. You remove whatever check marks were given previously. Everyone deserves a fresh new beginning, a fresh new start. It works. It's fantastic. And with that, you can get the students to do what you want them to do without even having to shout, scream, yell, or repeat over and over again, stop talking, listen here, eyes on the board, etc. So then, that's classroom management. Sabi ni Trevor Muir, You don't have to be a martyr to be a great teacher. You don't have to give your all at all times to care for your students. You don't have to burn out to light a fire in the kids in your room. It's okay to have off days, to take days off and get ticked off. You're human, you're enough. And when you realize that when you realize that, you become a better teacher. There are many more strategies available out there. Google them, chat GPT them, search them in the internet. That is how a master teacher grows. We continue looking for more and more of those strategies, better and better ways of doing things so that we become effective, not disciplinarians, but classroom managers, master teachers.